A new episode of the Danny Camp podcast came out today, and we're dealing with a fairly recent topic, one that came up a couple weeks ago, one that our leaders in this country think is a issue that's in dire need of attention. The reason of us being underbabied. And in this episode, we kind of started off, and this is actually a series that's going to last a few weeks on our podcast, where we're talking about it. In this first episode, we're just talking about this lack of understanding of basic biology, and especially from people of a certain bent, a certain ideology that want to legislate how things are done in this country, and how naive they are to some of the facts. And we pull up a couple classic clips and react to them. You know, the one where the senator's talking about, well, why can't a pregnant woman swallow a camera and then see what's happening with the baby? And then the female doctor's telling him how that's not exactly how things work in the reproductive system. Ben Shapiro talking about WAP, that old song, worship and praise, and saying, how this is an issue that needs to be addressed because this isn't what's natural and what needs to be going on. And we talk about how bad we feel for his wife, who actually is a doctor and agrees with him, and how that is astonishing, how lack of what the biology of a woman is. And yet these people want to sit here and legislate and pass laws in this country without any understanding of what's going on. They want to tell women how to live their lives, what decisions they can and can't make, how they should, their health and what's right for them, without knowing anything about it. And even more so, not concerning themselves about learning anything about it. That senator had a female doctor on the, questioning her on this, and could have used this for valuable insight into how we should legislate and proceed forward in women's health issues in this country. But instead, he got embarrassed and didn't really care because he doesn't want to know. He just wants to go with what he thinks is best, to keep the women down and not really concern himself about how they work and what goes on with their bodies because, ooh, that's icky. And we talk about some of the Christians that we know in our life that treat this whole subject matter of the human biology and reproductive systems as taboo. We know people in our lives, we know a mother in our life that refuses to talk to her daughters about their monthly cycles because that's too taboo. They won't talk about how things work and how emotions and urges that people have that are natural and just what we are programmed to have because it might stir them up and feelings in them that would cause them to sin. When we start attaching sin and shame to natural things in this world, we start causing a lot of problems, mental health problems, anxiety, and all sorts of things. And when we start to legislate on stuff that we refuse to try to understand, we're not going to be in a good place. I think if we want to pass laws on something, we should probably understand what we're talking about first, instead of assuming what we know is right.